This is the Khmer Times News. My name is Paolo Bonini, and these are your headlines. A documentary on scam centers in Cambodia creates serious waves. A suspected rapist of underage girls is jailed. And an acid attack mutilates a woman for life. But firstly, it's to our headline story. This week, Sky News, a very popular news channel from the UK, released a scathing documentary claiming Cambodia is at the very heart of illegal scam centres. They claimed that an industry had appeared within the kingdom that employs thousands upon thousands of people on a daily basis to do absolutely nothing but try and scam innocent people out of their hard-earned money. In their report, they said they had interviewed staff of these illegal call centres, and those workers had claimed that, yes, there was a scamming industry, one that was set up on an industrial scale. Allow me now to show you the opening of that Sky News report.
There's a quiet explosion taking place in Southeast Asia with a vice-like grip. Hidden fraud factories where hundreds of thousands of scammers are targeting millions of people online. It's lucrative, brutal, and we're going undercover to show you what it's like from the inside for the very first time.
Now, as this report goes on, it claims that not only are these scam centres turning over millions of dollars, but some of those working within them are forced to do so. They even claim that employees who did not reach their set targets are often beaten and they are tortured. Now, this kind of report is exceedingly bad for the kingdom, and it did not take long for the government to wholeheartedly deny that these scam centres exist as they are portrayed in that Sky News report. And the government was very vocal in saying that this was nothing but sensationalistic journalism. A spokesman for the Ministry of Interior dismissed the allegations against Cambodia, saying the video itself was misleading. The spokesman said, "The videos are often edited using different footage to emphasize their claims, but in fact, it is not reality." And he added that the police crackdowns are continuing, with many scammers being arrested, recognizing that this is an issue. But as to torture, he said, when police have raided scam centres, there was little evidence of people being severely tortured. Scam centres seem to be a modern-day epidemic. Criminals can set up shop anywhere. Any office block or disused building can be used, and the rewards can be very tempting indeed. One woman in the Sky News report claims that she willingly works in a scam centre and is paid $800 a month, and that in Cambodia is really big money. And it's no wonder she is being paid so much, as the scam centres in Asia are said to make $3.8 billion every year, and they employ 30,000 people. This issue is certainly not unique to Cambodia or any other country. The profits are simply vast, and in many ways, the only way this criminal juggernaut will ever slow down is when the public get educated and they realise that the person on the other end of the line, who you do not know but is offering you the world, is in fact a scammer. And the best course of action is to put the phone down and to walk away. Because if it sounds too good to be true, well, guess what? It is a scam. People are being sucked in by their own greed. And it is that greed that is not making them wealthy, but criminal gangs, to the tune of nearly $4 billion each and every year. In this week's Crime Desk, the most vile of criminals is charged and jailed. A senior police officer threatens to gun down his neighbour, and a man mutilates his wife in a horrifying acid attack. Do you want to see someone who really generates an awful lot of hatred within me? Well, stare long and deep into the eyes of this piece of work. What this guy did is unbelievably cruel, but I am so very sad to say it is not unique. Because the court has now charged that man for allegedly throwing acid on his wife because she wanted a divorce. Really? Your wife wants to call it a day and walk away, and you try and mutilate her with acid? That is absurd. The incident happened in Kandak province this week, and this guy had some real history at being a scumbag. And it became very apparent why his wife, who was a garment worker, wanted to leave him. Police have said that there had been frequent quarrels between the two, as the husband, despite the 95% employment rate within the kingdom, could not find a job. But he had no problems at all finding illegal drugs and alcohol, as he had a record of substance abuse ever since they got married. The victim had complained to the commune chief at least 3 times and demanded a divorce, but her requests were ignored. A few days before the attack, the victim had sought help from the Kandal Provincial Court as well, and it was this very action that was to enrage her husband. On the day of the incident, yet another argument erupted between the couple, but this time, the husband was not only more violent than ever before, he was prepared to try to destroy his wife, armed with half a litre of acid. He threw the acid at her face. It severely burnt her head, her neck, and her face. Now, at this point, I'm going to stop the story, and I'm going to ask you if you are of a nervous disposition to look away now, as you need to understand how god-awful and how unbelievably horrifying this crime is. And these next images I'm going to show you are horrific. But in their horror, they only amplify as to why this crime must be stamped out. So here goes. This lady in green was attacked by her husband with acid, and it is nearly always a woman who's assaulted, and it is always nearly the husband that carries out that assault. What you can see in these images is not only does the acid disfigure beyond all belief, it also blinds the victims. And quite incredibly, on occasions, children are also targeted. In this final photo, you can see a woman and a child, both of them horribly mutilated by an enraged husband who threw acid on their faces. In our case, the husband managed to flee the scene of the crime, but was later apprehended by the police the very same day. And I'm pleased to say he is now behind bars, and if convicted, he faces up to 10 years in jail. But his wife faces a lifetime of pain and of torment. I think we can all agree it is never good when police officers break the law. But there are 2 additional factors that can make that even worse. Those 2 factors are the police officer who is breaking the law is of a very senior rank, and he should know an awful lot better. And secondly, that officer uses violence on a member of the public just because he believes he is above the very laws he has sworn to protect. This week, Priya Shernik Provincial Court charged an officer named Ukpan Reth, who, quite incredibly, is a major in the police force. His charges are very serious indeed, as it is alleged he beat and tortured a rickshaw driver. So, how did this high-ranking officer of the law end up with charges of violence and torture levelled against him? Well, it is said, back in July of this year, a Mr. Kunti left his house in his tuk-tuk, but it broke down almost immediately, directly outside the police officer's house, who is a neighbour of the driver. Now, the driver did all he could to get his little tuk-tuk going, and to do so, he turned the engine over repeatedly, but it kept on dying. In his own admission, the driver said he was revving the engine, and that noise was loud enough to disturb some of his neighbours. But what he never expected was what happened next, as the police chief major came striding out of his house, dressed only in civilian clothes, and as he got closer, the driver himself saw very clearly that the man coming towards him had a handgun. And when only feet apart, the officer raised that gun at the tuk-tuk driver and threatened to shoot him. The driver was petrified. But that is not where our tale ends, as the senior police officer went so much further. It is alleged that this officer then telephoned 4 of his subordinates and ordered them to come to his house and to arrest the driver. They did just that, and the innocent man was hauled off in handcuffs by numerous police officers. It is then alleged by the driver that he was beaten by these men, including the police major, who kicked the man repeatedly in the chest and the ribs. And as he did so, the senior officer told him he was not to try and take legal action against him, as after all, they were neighbours, clearly indicating he would get more of the same punishment if he did not keep quiet. The man returned home after the torture, and he vowed he would not be cowed by a police officer who broke the law so flagrantly. And now the Priya Shernik court has said that the police major has been charged with intentional violent acts with aggravating circumstances. If convicted, that officer faces a jail term of up to 5 years. You may remember this man's face from last week. I am sure you will remember his crime. He had been arrested for the rape of numerous young girls, including 2 girls aged just 1 and 2 years of age. Well, we do have an update on this case for you this week, as it has been announced by police forces that the man who worked at the Islamic school where it is said these attacks took place has now been charged and is being held in jail before the court case. The reason for his detention, one can only assume, is he is now considered a high risk of fleeing the country. The Phnom Penh Municipal Court has charged and detained Khmer Rutin Suami, a son of a high-ranking Islamic cleric. He's accused of allegedly raping and sexually abusing 4 underage girls at a school dormitory in Rasi Keo district. His charges are rape with aggravated circumstances and indecent assault with aggravating circumstances. And the jail term he could serve, if found guilty, is up to 15 years. He managed to prey on his victims due to his position within that school. He was the manager of the female student dormitory. It is said when one girl came forward, it was not long before others told a very similar tale that was equally as disturbing. And now he is safely behind bars and awaiting a trial for allegedly raping and sexually abusing numerous underage girls. I will update you as this case proceeds. Rape, torture, acid attacks, what a week it has been. But let us not part under such a black cloud of evil criminality, dear viewer. Let us refresh our palate for life and all that is wholesome by entering into the wonderful world of the animal kingdom. And this next story is all about a truly amazing animal who is most peculiar. Now, if I was to ask you to name an animal that is bright pink, you will invariably say a flamingo. An image such as this would cross your mind, as it is the most obvious. Or, if you have the mind of a 12-year-old boy whacked out on way too much sugar, like I have, then the only pink animal that would enter your mind is, of course, a pink panther. As living in a cartoon world is so much better than the real adult world that adults live in. But there is, in fact, another choice, and that is a beautiful pink mammal that calls the water its home. It is the remarkably rare and beautifully pink dolphin. And he is not just a little pink, he is a really pink. He's even pink on the inside. Take a look at this image of one with his mouth wide open, clearly showing that his dedication to being pink is not just some passing fancy. And these dolphins have become quite the celebrities, doing the rounds on social media and drawing an audience from all over the globe, as there are boat tours in Cambodia set to go out to watch these marvellous creatures. And those tours have been increasing month on month. And it's said by the ministry, at the last count, a healthy pod of over 70 of these marvellous beasts has been spotted in Pre Ta Nut fishing community. Now, if being really pink is not cool enough, here's some other cool facts about those pink dolphins. Pink dolphins can change their colour, just like a white rapper or a chameleon. Also, the pink dolphin has the largest brain of any river dolphin. But my most favourite fact is this. It is believed that if you swim with pink dolphins of an evening and you are alone, the dolphins may well whisk you away to a magical underwater city. Now, how cool is that? I myself am packing my trunks and diving in. An underwater city full of pink dolphins? Count me in. It's time to have a look ahead and see what the weather has in store for us next week. Here we are at the weather, and here's my photo of the week. And what you're looking at is something called a DTV, a Thai visa, which allows me admission into Thailand for 5 years. I'm so pleased I've got it so I can go hunting temples. But what you're actually looking at is not my visa, because I'm aware of identity theft. What I've done is I've put somebody else's visa on the screen. What a nice guy I am. Quickly, let's move on to the weather because we're running out of time. What we've got here is rain across the board. There's no lightning, there's no thunder, but there is a high temperature of 33 degrees. This has been the Khmer Times News. Please do subscribe and comment and stay up to date with all the breaking news by following us on both Facebook and Telegram. This has been Paolo Bonini, and that was the week that was. I'll see you next weekend for your weekly Roundup.